So Devansh has told me to grill you, Avarna, not him.
I told you that the opposite before this.
See, it's amazing to have you both here. I've known you both before and have seen both of you grow over the last half a decade. Very different, contrasting sort of business style. I'm sometimes very scared to sit next to Devansh because every time you go, he makes you feel like you've done nothing in life and pushes you to another corner. So maybe my first question to you is, Avarna, how is it running a normal business life with Devansh?
Oh, very interesting question. So Devansh is basically like this. He enters a room with as if it's like lightning. So it's full of energy. So it's a very exciting life to lead, but kind of, I think I need to be the calm to the storm.
That's very briefly put. And just to give you an idea, ladies and gentlemen, we publish a list called the Hurun India 500, which is a list of India's most valuable 500 enterprises. And we do an analysis of some of the entrepreneurs who built some great companies. And I'm very happy to say Devansh has built, GFL, I will not fully give the credit to you, but forget that. But INOX Wind and INOX Clean, right? He's built two businesses that are worth more than 10,000 crores. In his lifetime, in the last 10 years. So big round of applause to Devansh, please, everyone. And Avarna, what you've done with Saregama, where you've taken it to almost 10,000 crore market cap business, and also the other media enterprise, you're bringing all these luxury brands, media companies to come to India, and all single-handedly joining from the front. It's more of like, become like a first generation sort of enterprise for you. So big round of applause to Avarna also, please. So coming to you, Devansh, I really remember the times when you had a problem with INOX Wind, right? And because of regulatory changes and what you had to go through, and how much of a support and calming force, like exactly what Avarna has said to you at that point in time, right? So could you also tell us on how you have managed the business dynamics in your family, between both of you?
How she's been around or how I've managed the business dynamics?
Yeah, your style and her style, quite different, right? So how was it during difficult times and how is it now?
I've been married now for 16 years. I think Avarna's seen all of it. As she mentioned, I think I have a lot of energy, very aggressive, very ambitious. But at the same time, Avarna is very calm. She's very clear with what she wants to achieve. It's very clear the distinction between where I play a role, where she plays a role. I don't think we fight around that. We're very, very clear who handles what. And I think within that, I think on my way up, when I was building Wind, of course, early days, work hours were almost 17, 18 hours. So Avarna was always there, just around to support. I think the real support was needed when we were going through hell. 5 years of hell is not a short time. And I think at that point in time, the real sanity, balance, calmness really came in from Avarna, as you know, my mom and my sister. The three pillars which I always say in my life. My equation with dad is only about work. It's always been work, which I love, respect. But you need some stable force to calm you down, to tell you the world is not ending, because at that time it was. So I think that phase is done. I think in the new avatar now, the past couple of years, maybe the past 2 or 3 years, we're just growing so rapidly, so aggressively. I think it's more Avarna's just around, always had to support. I've been traveling the past 2 weeks, came in for this, as you know. It's more about just updating of what I'm doing. There's some acquisition happening every week. She's just getting an update on which company it is. There's a company which is very similar to Avendus. So she came in, she said, "Did you buy these guys out?" I said, "No, baby, there was a similar company. It's not Avendus." No, it's great. I mean, you need a very strong pillar, someone who's always there to support you when you're down. And Avarna's always been there for that.
No, on that note, Avarna, I want to ask you a specific questions. And I've spent limited time with Devansh, and every time I meet him and get back, it's just a bundle of motivation, energy, making you feel you should work harder and all that stuff. How has it been for you? You're also building quite a few media businesses, quite a few enterprises. So how has it been? Would you take advice from him, or would you dare not take any advice from him? How was that?
No, I think, so building whatever I'm building alongside Devansh actually helps me a lot. I think I would have been maybe less than half of where I am today if it was not for Devansh's encouragement and forever saying, listen, you're not thinking big enough. Think more, aim for more. I mean, he's always pushing you to do more. And I think one of the greatest qualities that he has is always very encouraging of whatever you're doing. As a woman, as a mom, you're always second guessing yourself. Should I not do this? Should I just stay at home with the kids? Should I come back early? But he's always saying, no, just, figure it out and do it. This is the time, this is the opportunity. So I don't think I would have achieved half of what I've done if it was not for Devansh.
Does he give you targets?
That would be pushing it.
And what about you? What have you learned from? I know for a fact that your company websites have got an upgrade because of Avarna. I know that for a fact. So how else has she influenced you?
No, look, Avarna comes with the entire creative side. And I think she's done a phenomenal job balancing creativity with, the financial metrics. Of course, she's absorbed a lot of that over the past couple of years. But I think balancing creativity, communication, and calmness. I think that's the key takeaway from her. Remaining calm, which I'm not. But if I am, say, 1 on 100 in terms of calmness, it's thanks to Avarna. Otherwise, it used to be negative 100. You know that, Anas. So I think just the little calmness that exists is all thanks to Avarna. Obviously, she's responsible for all the creativity, all the communication. Because I think, prior to Avarna really getting involved with INOX GFL, I think it was more about just building B2B businesses. And I really didn't think too much about PR, communication, empathy, empathizing with people, and so on and so forth. And I think a lot of that side has come in thanks to Avarna.
Okay, a lot of here, some of them are young, about to get married. Some of them have gotten married. Some of them have kids. I think got a baby in the room as well. So would like to understand from you, how difficult or easy is it to build large businesses under one roof and have emotional control, but still lead a good family life? What are the sort of the discussions that you have, in the dining table? How difficult is it to manage everything?
So I don't know if it's difficult to manage. It's a very interesting management that you have to do, because there are times you're having some intense discussion about work, but then your kid comes with the biggest problem, which is, Mama, I can't find my homework. And you have to drop whatever you're doing, no matter how important he thinks it is or I think it is, and go and help your kid out. So I think it's just about prioritizing in that moment. And if you can sort of figure out in that moment what's important, I guess you've hit home run.
What about you?
Obviously, Avarna's perspectives are a little different from mine.
I would love to hear your perspective at this point.
Most of my dinners are later with Dad, and they're all about work. Weekends, of course, is different. I think Avarna used to be party to all of that. Of course, the kids coming in has changed it along the way. But I think you can't separate work from meals. And at least at our place, it's integral. What's happening tomorrow, what happened today, what's next. And I think to that extent, I love it. Sometimes it's a pain, but we also get our own time over the weekends now with Avarna, the kids, and so on and so forth. But it's, you can't separate work from family life. It doesn't happen.
Basically, Devansh's name should be Devansh Work Jain.
Yeah, a lot of your interviews have been published about what you do in INOX, and this is more from an emotional standpoint. That's one of the topics that is very rarely discussed in forums like these, right? The next was really about the cross-pollination of ideas, right? Have you ever sat across the table and tried to, let's say, have taken something that Devansh has been doing into your business, and have you spoken to Avarna and taken back something from what Avarna is doing into your business? I'm not talking about revamping your website, but best practices.
No, so I do that a lot. I sit with Devansh when he has the time to think of something that's not work for him, but actually to pick his brains on what should be the next steps, how we should expand. And obviously he thinks we're not aggressive enough. He thinks I need to be way more aggressive, which is great because it actually keeps you, going and thinking, and you go back to the table and think, okay, what next? What next? How do I get to the next level? We're at this level, which is good, but how do you get to the next one? And he sort of leads by example because that's what he's doing on a daily basis. He's just taking things to the next level and the next and the next, and basically has not learned how to stop, I think. So that's great. So it's very motivational for me. But I think I try to sit him down whenever I get an opportunity. Just told you how busy and how much travel and all of that he has, to ask him what he thinks we should do. And at the end of the entire discussion, then he's saying, but what do I gain out of giving you all this advice?
It's funny. All her tickets, all her travel bills are paid for by us. Should be paying from her company, It's all about profit at the end of the day. But, like I said, I think from Avarna, it's always been the creative side, the calm side, the emotional connect. I think those are the key takeaways for me. It's something which is, this is not a very comfortable conversation for me. These aren't things which I generally talk about or discuss or think about. But it's always been about being calm, having a little bit of an emotional connect with people. The bad days, the good days, you're tearing apart people, you're upset, goals are not met, and you're hard taskmasters. But at the end of the day, everyone's human. So, some of that comes from Avarna, I think. And like I said, clearly, communications, interacting with people, even networking for that matter. I never thought it made any sense wasting time on that. And I think a lot of that changes as you see more communication, creativity, things around areas which are in Avarna's domain.
Okay. What would your advice be to under 30s, under 35s, and under 40s who are here from your different perspectives, number one? Number two, how important is it to prioritize mental health while you are doing business? But it's a whirlwind, right? Now, I've told you this before also. Some of my companies that I've invested, I've shown the graph of INOX wind and said, look, this guy can turn around, so can you. I've done that. But that's all extreme levels of volatility in terms of how you think, and you both have shared that many times, right? So talking to this room, if they were to take away some key lessons from each of you in terms of how to handle it together or individually, or how is being a couple doing different businesses but being together, how is that done? If you could share to the room, that'll be very
Look, I think it's a personal choice. I think a bit too much is made out of mental health. That's how I view it. It's about what you want to achieve, where you want to be in life. You want to be easy, calm, flip burgers at McDonald's, go do it. You want to buy a Rolls Royce, then you got to work. It's not going to come free. And I think, there's no easy money. There's no gain without pain. You got to work hard, you got to slog. And I think if you're young and you can't do it, you're not going to do it when you're 50. So I think my point of view is very simple. Good education, studying hard, not faffing around. I'm not saying you need to be a topper every time. Studying hard, working hard, playing sports, whatever it may be, whatever you like, excel in whatever you do. Yeah. Because unless you're excelling in whatever you're doing, it means you're just a me too. You don't want to do anything. You got to win, whether it's cricket or, pool or swimming or whatever you want to do. Excel in something. If you are not excelling in anything which you're passionate about, then you're not passionate about anything. And I don't think you will find winners who are not passionate, number one. Number two, I think you asked as couples how we see it. And I think a lot of the younger generation people have said this earlier. They're always in a hurry to achieve things. You got to have patience. There has to be resilience. There has to be hard work. Nothing is easy. Nothing comes overnight. You may see people smiling, laughing a lot. But there's a lot of work which goes behind all of that. Number one. I think also second, I think in terms of partners, you also need to choose the right partners. Some people are going to be with you, are going to be supportive, or not with you just because you have money or want your money or are competing with you. Avarna and I compete in different contexts. Sometimes it's a bit rude because I just say you're not moving fast enough. But it's all for good. It's not saying it in a negative manner. And I think to that extent, having the right partner is extremely important because you will have ups and downs. But when you are down, you need that support system.
So I think there's a couple of things that I think I would like to say. One is, and this is something I've learned actually from Devansh, is not to sit on the fence for too long. Take the decision and move. Because the biggest disservice you can do to yourself and to your work is to not take a decision. So that, I think, has been one of my biggest learnings, and I've learned it from Devansh. So that's, I think, the first thing. And the second thing is, I think, what Devansh mentioned earlier, that is demarcate certain things, whether at work or at home, that you have the final call for. So in our case, we have certain things, whether it's kids, whether it's work, whether it's home. Certain things he has the final call, certain things I have the final call. So we may argue, we may discuss, but we know who calls the shots for what.
Amazing. Can I have a big round of applause for Devansh and Avarna, please? Thank you very much.